Why was it that the investigation that Tony Hall led failed so badly? It failed to act on the fact that Martin Bashir had behaved in the way he had, that he'd lied to the BBC about what he'd done. The investigation was completed without a stain on his character, without a mark against him. And the board of the BBC wasn't properly informed about what had been discussed, what the BBC knew about the interview with Princess Diana. So there's a big question about that, which is, why do these internal investigations fail? And I think we saw this with Jimmy Savile in the past. We've seen this with other issues at the BBC, that these internal reviews don't get to the truth. They sometimes hide what they've found, and appropriate action isn't taken. So I think that's what the BBC has to explain. And I think Tim Davie rightly brought in Lord Dyson to lead an independent investigation into this issue. And I think what he has to say now is, how will the BBC deal with complaints like this in the future? Should there be a more independent process for assessing complaints like this in the future, so we don't see this mistake repeated again?
Do you currently trust the BBC? Because we are talking about something that was 25 years ago, and there have been a lot of changes since.
It is concerning because, Martin Bashir worked for the BBC until very recently. Tony Hall was Director General until very recently. The BBC's known about this for a long time, and the truth has only really come out because of Earl Spencer's actions, because of independent reporting outside the BBC, and now Lord Dyson's review, which is based on evidence gathered from the corporation, which produced his very damning report. So this is all information that was within the grasp of the BBC for years, and nothing was done about it. Nothing appropriate was done about it. So what Tim Davie needs to reflect on is, I think, to give people confidence that the BBC would handle issues like this better in the future. The only real action that was taken was against the whistleblower. He was punished for his actions and for giving information to the press. If he hadn't done that, then the truth would never have come out at all.
So much has changed since then, not least that Ofcom is now involved. Are you saying there needs to be more change?
Well, Ofcom has a role as the ultimate regulator, but really it's a broadcasting regulator looking at the broadcasting code. This was clearly a failure of editorial guidelines, but I think the question should be, if a serious issue is raised by a BBC employee about someone else within the organisation, how is that complaint dealt with? If that's a very serious allegation, is it appropriate that that should just be investigated by that person's line manager or someone within the division that they work? Or should there be a more independent process separate from the normal career structures and relationships that will exist within any department?
Richard Eyre, who was Director of Editorial Policy at the time, has suggested that what the BBC should look at now is setting up an independent whistleblowing unit that effectively people within the BBC can go to if they're concerned about editorial decisions.
Well, I think that would be an appropriate step. And I think, for me, this chimes with other things that have happened recently in the BBC as well. The BBC failed to deal with complaints about Jimmy Savile, a much more serious issue and case that led to a very substantial report. But even more recently, looking at the complaints raised by freelancers about the way they were treated over their tax status, by women at the BBC about equal pay. There's often a common story that if you speak out, you feel like you're being victimised, you feel like you're putting your career in jeopardy, and you feel that you don't get a very sympathetic hearing. So I think these are different issues, but I think they have some common traits in the way the BBC deals with them.
How do you look on the reappointment of Martin Bashir in 2016?
Well, I think that seems astonishing now. It seems astonishing that he worked for the BBC for so long and came back, and then very conveniently has gone just before this report came out. Again, whilst the issues around the Diana interview, as you rightly said, are 25 years ago, the fact that he continued to work for the BBC until so recently and was re-employed, I think, given what the BBC knew, I find astonishing.